The countdown clocks have started. Fight songs pass the time. The days may run together, but you know that in our mind it's always Saturday. Take me back to Saturday. Saturday. Give me those 12 Saturdays. Spot the ball. March Madness is a blast, and we love baseball games. But nothing beats the feeling of having a killer slate of games. It's always Saturday. Take me back to Saturday. Saturday. Dreaming of all Saturdays. Spot the ball. Spot the ball. Oh, college football. Sat out your day. For the small, lay a big hit and pass a kick the ball. This game is for us all. From Seattle down toward the Keys, this game is you, this game is me. Cast dogs and steer, either tree. This game is America, so sing it loud with me. College football forever. College football forever. Downtown LA, Starkville sit. 1 week you're up next, take a dip. Run the rock or let it rip. This game is America. All say, can you sing it with me?
We just stepped on her face with a hot-tail broken rocker nose. Whoa, Nelly!
College football forever. College football forever. College football forever. College football forever.
College football is a year-round discussion with these two. Here's JC and Morgan. Mike Morgan of ESPN and JC Sherbert of 24/7 Sports have you covered, beginning right now.
And welcome once again. It is another installment of JC and Morgan, year number 10, as we continue to cruise along and inch closer and closer to the start of the regular season. That is 2015. We're going hurry up from the jump here. We've got a special guest that's been on the program a number of times before. You know him, you love him, Andy Staples, who's been covering college football for a number of different outlets for several years now. And usually we have him on a little bit longer. The people at the Dan Patrick Show, they heard they were clearly keeping tabs on who we were booking, and they looked at our guest list and said, well, we want Andy too. So he's going to be on their show at 10:20, which means he's on with us already at 10. That was booked a week ago. It's got to be out at 10:15. So we'll keep that one nice and tight, and we'll keep this whole show, for that matter, nice and tight, starting with the JC5 in this opening segment. It's poll time. The AP poll the coaches poll dropped. The AP poll will drop on Monday. The coaches poll has Texas number 1. I mentioned kind of a sneaky stat earlier this week, JC. Texas has never been preseason number 1 in the AP poll, which dates back to 1936. We'll see if that trend breaks. Ohio State 2, Penn State 3, Georgia 4, Notre Dame 5, Clemson 6, followed by Oregon, Alabama, LSU, and Miami. Sound familiar? Like it's the most of the normal there. Miami kind of crashing the party like it's 1990 or 1989, something in that effect. 9 SEC teams, 4 in the top 10. That leads the way. So that part hasn't changed. And later on today, you'll get some more kind of information on all of that. Excuse me. Yeah, I know. Can't be getting sick near the start of the start of the college football season. That simply cannot happen. I was thinking, JC, I a couple of years ago, remember I had a trend of every week I'd have a different stadium behind me. I'm bringing that back. I'm bringing that back. And I'm not going to do like the typical, hey, look, here's Death Valley in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night. Here's the big house. Here's the shoe. I'm going to get the perhaps under the radar. So behind me there, that's McLean Stadium in Waco, Texas, which will be the site of the first significant game this year as Baylor takes on Auburn on a Friday night on August the 29th. I was there where you could still smell the fresh coat of paint a few years ago. I say a few. They opened up in 2014. I had a game against Texas there. It was either 2014 or 2015. And beautiful stadium. Not the biggest. It seats about 50,000. They put $266 million into it. It's right there on the Brazos River. And here's the significant point about McLean Stadium. If you're always looking for that water cooler fact of the day that you can impress your coworkers with, do they even have water coolers anymore? I don't know. When you're getting your Starbucks and you're trying to impress the barista with the nose ring and the 17 tattoos. It's one of the few stadiums in college football where you can not just tailgate, you can sailgate, JC. That's right. You can go ahead and just float there on the river while you're getting ready for the game. Pretty cool stuff. You strike me as a good sailgater.
I've never been. I mean, I guess the other two that come to mind would be Tennessee and Washington.
You are correct. Yeah. I don't know if there's another one.
There maybe somebody that we're not thinking of. Maryland. I mean, who wants to go sailing in the Potomac River, Mike? I don't know. But I'm not that part of it. But I was just thinking of like who's nearer. I mean, just about every school is near. Cities were built around rivers because of transportation. So, but I can't think of any other sailgating lakes.
The only other two I know of.
Yeah, Washington's a lake, actually a lake, Lake Columbia, right there. Beautiful. Always wanted to go to a game there. I've been there for like a camp and seen the whole setup, but I've been to Tennessee for games many times, and that it looks like a lot of fun.
It is. It's an awesome setup. If you can have a nice little body of water around your yard, your ballpark, it's not a bad deal. Not a bad deal at all. Before we crack into the JC5, just any thoughts on the last few days, whether it's polls or anything else, anything that's been stirring in the great mind of Sherbert?
Some of the folks that vote in the AP poll, and this is a topic for another day. I have some serious questions about who they let vote in this poll nowadays. Just because you're a newspaper reporter and you vote for the AP poll does not mean that you're some unbiased arbiter, as several of the voters proved last year with their behavior on X. I do expect it to be a little different. Because I think like Clemson at 6, I think they'll be higher in the AP poll. Maybe it'll be Ohio State and Texas 1 and 2, maybe not. I kind of like that, Mike, because I was thinking another thing I thought about this week was last time there was a 1 versus 2 opener. I don't know that we've had one. I thought back to 88, Florida State, Miami. But that Miami team was ranked 8th. And of course, they beat FSU 31-0. Miami lost to Notre Dame, I think, by a point. Notre Dame ended up winning the whole thing. Florida State didn't lose another game, but that was 1988. And it was in Miami at the Orange Bowl, and Miami beat them badly. But I thought that was a 1 versus 2, but I look back and it wasn't. It was 1 versus 8. So we're trending toward, as you said, that's the biggest game of the day on that first Saturday, Texas, Ohio State. We're trending towards a 1 versus 2 opener. So some first for Texas if they are 1 and 2, if they're 1 and 2. Not only they preseason 1 for the first time, they unfortunately have to go play the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah. Not exactly a well. Although look, I think especially now with an expanded playoff, you look at these games as an opportunity without the fear of if you lose it, your season is dead. You're done. You're cooked. No. You can, if you lose a close game, you still have a margin of error. So I think most of America is waiting with high anticipation for that matchup, and they all want to see whether you like Texas or hate Texas or an ambivalent towards Texas. You want to see what Arch Manning can do.
Oh yeah, that's the show, right? You want to tune
Mm-hmm.
in, and Ohio State's debuting a new quarterback too. That's a hot shot recruit, Julian. Do you pronounce it Sayin?
Saying,
S-A-Y.
I'm just
Julian
saying,
Sayin. I'm saying, dog. That's going to be a debut as well with those
yeah.
receivers, and he's he's young and inexperienced, but he's talented. You know, Arch is like actually the elder statesman in that game because he's been at Texas, I think, third year. Saban's just in his second. So, and Saban was committed to Bama before Saban left or signed. He actually, I think, enrolled and they got in the portal and went to Ohio State. So, these quarterbacks, they like to move around a lot, right?
They certainly do in this day and age. That is for sure. Okay, it is the one and only JC and Morgan. Our producer is Phil, the Mad Dog Mullinax, who can focus on one show for the time being. We are powered by Advocare. Save 20% right now. 20% new customers on a bunch of items. Just enter the promo code Mike Morgan. You know how I feel about the products. You've got Spark. It's how I start every day. Better than coffee. Rehydrate. Better than Gatorade without all the sugar. Even if you have trouble sleeping, this Blue Orbit thing is really cool. I don't know what they put in there, but it's all healthy like everything else from Advocare. Go to advocare.com. Ship to your door within days. And with that and Andy Staples coming up in 15 minutes, let's commence with the JC5.
It's time for the top topics in the sport. We bring the JC5. Number 1.
Derek Dooley is running for Senate in the state in which you reside, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Derek Dooley will be a better politician than an SEC head football coach? I know my answer, and my answer is a strong yes. But
yes, a strong yes. Look, Derek was not. That was not a good hire. I think it was made for a lot of the wrong reasons, but that has nothing to do with politics. And unfortunately, when people handle these questions in our profession, as everybody is well aware by now, they all lean one way politically, so they can't help themselves when they answer a question like this. And there's always like this undertone of political hatred because he is not on their team. It doesn't matter if he was. I mean, you've got senators who or football players that might be awful politicians. It doesn't matter. Like
Tommy Tuberville is an awful. Tommy Tuberville's not the strongest senator there is, dude. He's much better ball coach. But in my opinion, I mean, not taking the party out of it. I don't know that he could get elected outside of Alabama. But Derek, to me, that's kind of up his alley. His press conferences were like almost Steve Spurrier level. He just didn't win. I mean, his tenure, except to Tennessee fans, I thought was hilarious.
Hilarious.
The orange pants.
Oh,
then he had to have some surgery on his knee and was in a wheelchair. And he always had something.
I almost
funny.
Forgot about that. Yeah,
he always had something funny to say. Remember that thing about Rommel and World War II that he went into that time? I mean, he's a likable person, you know. He wasn't
just like his dad, a class act.
Yeah,
but Derek, it was not between that and Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt.
Corny. Yeah, dude.
Champions of Life, Jeremy Pruitt with the McDonald's bags. I mean, it's a tribute to resilience that Tennessee is relevant again in college football, because with that trio of hires, you could have buried a program for about a century. Number 2.
Okay. The answer to this question is binary choice, since we're in a hurry today. Likely or unlikely, Thomas Castellanos in game 1 rushes for 100 yards against Alabama's defense. Florida State's quarterback.
I'll go unlikely. I think Castellanos can shine some in that game, but there's also going to be some humbling moments in that game. I think Alabama's defense will remind people they have not gone away in terms of pure athletic talent. I don't know if they have some of the headliner names that they have in the past. You know, guys like Anderson, top 5 pick type, just absolute behemoths, but they're still damn good. And I don't know. Florida State seems like for about 25 years has had issues on their offensive line. It's really miraculous. Even when they've been really good, they've had issues with their offensive line. And I don't know if that's the case again this year. We'll find out quickly in that game. But yeah, 100 yards to me, that's a little ambitious, JC. I'd be, if I'm Florida State, I'm happy if he can get 50. I'm happy if he can get 50 like meaningful yards on a couple of big plays and then hit enough passes and hope to squeak out a huge upset. But 100 might be a little much to ask.
Number 3.
Okay, so in this week's episode of You Called It, Mike Morgan, all year last year, Barry Odom, you said plainly he was getting another job. He did at Purdue. Purdue has been at its best when they've had coaches like Joe Tiller and Jeff Brom, offensive guys going on, and Jim Everett at quarterback back in the day. Another defensive guy that has had, from Josh Heupel to the aforementioned Derek Dooley at Missouri, who did a good job as those see there, to Brendan Marion and the go-go offense at UNLV. He's had good offensive coordinators. But would you have gone defense, yes or no, if you were Purdue for a second time in a row? Because Ryan Walters, now the DC at Washington, was a complete program-sucking disaster.
No, I would not have. And this is for you, Purdue Kenny, listener to the show and the one Purdue fan that I know of that listens to the show. I think the only way to win at Purdue right now is to just be wide open on offense and, almost Mike Leach your way into an 8-win season in the Big Ten. You are always going to be behind the 8 ball. They had the coach, the Jeff Brom. The problem was the prodigal son came home to Louisville, and that was bound to happen. Because to me, Jeff Brom's one of the best offensive. You talk about Sark, Kiffin, and I'll add Brom as 3 of the best offensive minds in the sport. So you lose him, and you're kind of like, oh, bleep, now what do we do? And so you're trying to, in a Big Ten that's never been stronger, and the resources have never been bigger all around. People forget Brom was actually one of the top 10 highest paid coaches when he was at Purdue. So they didn't lose him the money. They have every Big Ten school has money, right? I mean, Northwestern has money. They all have money in lieu of their TV deals. But I just don't know if they have enough resources to compete with the upper echelon of that conference. So I would have gone offense, just me.
Number 4.
Okay, Bryce Underwood looks like he's going to be the starter at Michigan. It's a little coy, but most people assume that. How much better? Keep in mind they're 8-5, and we're woefully mediocre for Michigan until the last 2 games when they beat Ohio State and Alabama.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it? What's the how far do you think Bryce Underwood can take Michigan as a true freshman starting quarterback this year?
Gosh, I feel like I should defer this to you, JC, the recruiting guru that you are. I mean, I know all the hype. I know LSU fans are still pissed that he defected. They won't worry about it this year with Garrett Nussmeier, but next year they certainly could. So it's a great quote. I know one thing. For a team that was allergic to the forward pass last year, it can't get any worse in the passing game, right? So I have to believe it's got to be some sort of upgrade to what they just had.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out a lot when they go to Oklahoma. Oklahoma returns some salty players on defense. It's Ed Norman. You're going to have offense to win that game, I think. So I think we'll find out. I got some serious questions about him setting the world on fire his first year. I think he is immensely talented. Is he worth $11 million guaranteed? Time will tell. LSU fans don't really need to be upset. That's more of a recruiting mistake. You don't put when you got Michigan and you got a Michigan kid who's a pro-style quarterback, you don't put your eggs in that basket. Just like somebody from Michigan should not put all their eggs in a quarterback from Louisiana. Geography still matters, even with the money these days. And, you had to know Michigan was going to do what it took to keep him home. So, I think like you, passing game will be better. It won't be on life support like last year, but I just don't know that he's going to set the world on fire relative to expectations. There are people already talking about him being like in the Hall of Fame. And I mean, I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I love him as a prospect, but I don't know. I mean, sometimes these days,
Give me
the
a
hype can
comp.
get out
What
of control.
if you were to comp him to somebody?
So Joe Milton could have been had he been more accurate. Tall,
That strong of an arm, huh?
strong arm. I don't know if he'll like put a hole in your tires if he throws it to you, but velocity. EJ Manuel would be a good comparison.
You could do worse than
I
EJ.
loved EJ Manuel out of school. I actually made a case for him to be the number one player in the country when I was at Rivals. And people thought I was crazy. And lo and behold, he ended up being a first-round draft pick.
Sure did. Yeah.
Who knows?
All right.
Bryce Underwood.
Number 5.
Okay, so the stadium, it's kind of interesting. Mike and I don't ever talk about this before, but we kind of are on the same brain link today.
It's scary.
I was going to ask you, your most underrated college football venue you've called a game in or seen a game in that's not in the Southeastern Conference.
Okay, so no SEC and underrated. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's see. My brain starts off in the Big 12 for some reason. And you know what? There's a few of them in the Big 12 because those stadiums never get the love. They're not as big as SEC and Big 10 venues. But like doing a game at TCU, very underrated, very, very plush, very posh. But a cool venue. What is that? Amon Carter Stadium. Oklahoma State. Fans are outstanding. They're banging the paddles on the front wall. You know, Texas Tech gets loud in Lubbock, and now they can just, I don't know, take like bars of gold provided by the Matador Club and just make, cling them together and make like thunder sticks. That would be an underrated one. I've yet to do a game at Utah. I've heard that is a very Rice Eccles. That's on my bucket list. And then in the ACC underrated. Gosh, I got to tell you, I can't think of one that's underrated in the ACC.
Maybe Carter Finley at NC State.
Yeah, when they have it going, it gets loud. It's sunken in, so the crowd noise can be pretty deafening there. But Big Ten. I mean, the great ones. Ohio State. Michigan. Oregon. Penn State. Underrated.
Iowa may not.
See, I haven't been to Kinnick yet.
Camp Randall is too well known, I think, to be underrated. Iowa may be underrated.
Camp Randall's
Nebraska
way too
and
much
Camp
love.
Randall. So
Nebraska people know. I'll give you one more. Ames, Iowa. The tailgating, what they lack in numbers, they really do. Was it Jack Trice Stadium, I believe?
Yep.
That's a cool spot. That's been one of my favorite under the radar spots. Okay. Under the radar spot. All right. Well, that was rapid. We'll keep it here because I don't want to go to a break and then wind up being late. We'll get the break in later, but I want to mention this real quick. This will be like a bonus if we did the JC 6, and I'll give you the 6. So we mentioned the AP Top 25. So Brett McMurphy chimed in. He said in 2024, 13 of the top 25 teams in the preseason finished unranked. Number 9, Michigan. Number 10, Florida State. Wow. That deserves a wow. But then it's Utah, LSU, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, A&M, Arizona, Kansas, Southern Cal, NC State, and Iowa. To which I would only point out the top is still wildly predictable. Like if you look at the preseason top teams from a year ago, most of them had really good years. And you look at the teams at the top this year, and I'm pretty sure they're going to have real good years. Yes, there's always like an outlier. There's a Florida State. Nobody knew DJU was going to be that god-awful, and they would regress to that stage. And nobody knew Michigan couldn't throw a forward pass. But outside of that, like it's still the usual suspects, right? I mean, if you look at the Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Clemson, Oregon, Alabama, LSU. Those are the top 9. That is wildly familiar. Now we've got, if you keep going, Arizona State 11, fresh blood. Sam Leavitt's back, champions of their conference. Illinois, Brett Bielema's got it going on there. South Carolina 13, coming off a 9-win campaign. Ole Miss has become a regular. Indiana's 19. We'll see if they can do it 2 years in a row or if that's just a complete outlier. But you see where I'm saying? I don't think that tweet by McMurphy really speaks to the predictability at the top of college football.
No, I mean, last year, the Big 12 was impossible to predict. And I think the order and teams going in and out is something that's harder to predict. But, I mean, Texas has Arch Manning and a lot of great players. Ohio State's the defending champs, 1-2. I mean, that's just how it goes. I think we got Andy in, though.
Well, let's bring him in. You know him. You love him. As I've often said, the Paul Rudd of college football. And that's a compliment because everybody loves Paul Rudd, the actor, and everybody loves Andy Staples and the job he does. I'm having a hard time keeping up with your career, Andy, but it sounds like On3 is definitely but your home base, but it's not all you're doing, right?
Yeah, we were adding a show. On3 and Yahoo are partnering up. And so I'm doing a show with Yahoo. I am joining Ross Dellinger and Stephen Godfrey. This is the College Football Inquirer is the name of the show. And it is the show that Dan Wetzel and Pat Forty and Ross Dellinger were doing.
Right.
Dan has gone on to ESPN, and so he can't do it. And Ross is staying at Yahoo. Pat is now exclusive to SI. So me and Steven coming in, and we're gonna have some fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
We've had Ross on a couple of times. In terms of information, I don't know if anybody does a better job than him. And Wetzel was great too. I loved listening to those guys when they were all together.
Great lineup. Tremendous.
Super. I know you're on limited time. I know you're big time. You got Dan Patrick. We don't want to upset Fritzy and Paulie and the gang there and have you tardy. Let me get started. This is something you're actually involved in. I haven't seen it yet. It's on the old Netflix, so I'll get to it. But on any given Saturday, we've heard nothing but great reviews from our audience and people that have enjoyed it. And I know you're kind of splattered there with some sound bites and whatnot. Give us your take and your involvement in that.
Well, so they let me know, hey, would you come talk about SEC football for a little bit? And so I did 3 different shoots, and basically they just kind of took me through, okay, here's the games we're focusing on, and here are the people, the coaches, the players we're focusing on, and had no idea what they were going to wind up using. And, I watched a lot of pop-up video as a young person. I can't say as a kid because I think I was in my 20s, but I always wanted to be one of those people who popped up to talk about the video. So that's me now on that Netflix show. And it was a lot of fun. And it's interesting because you don't realize the reach of Netflix until a show hits Netflix and people that you haven't talked to in 20 years are like, oh my God, you're like, yeah, I talk about college football a little bit, but
kind of what you do
when it's on Netflix. That's everybody. That's not just our little college football world here.
And you mentioned, I think I caught you on Feinbaum the other day, that unlike a lot of these docs, and this is the problem I have, is that not to sound like an elitist, but I feel like if it's a college football doc, am I going to learn anything? Because I kind of know a lot of stuff. But you mentioned on this one in particular, you'll actually take some new info in.
Yeah, you learn a lot because, I was involved in the show, knew exactly what players and coaches they were going to be talking about, obviously watched all those games. And then when I watched the episodes when they were finished, I still learned a ton. I learned a lot about LSU, about Florida, about South Carolina, about Vanderbilt. And it was... I think that's the key there, because can you serve the general audience? Because obviously it's Netflix. There's so many people who don't follow college football, and that's what they want. This is the same production company, Box to Box, that makes the F1 Drive to Survive show, which there's a lot of people who don't actually watch F1 races who watch that show because it's a very well done show. And I think the hope is that with Box to Box, and I'm sure the SEC signed on because of this, and the schools signed on because of this, that it does help them reach a wider audience. But the thing is, you still have to be able to satisfy the hardcore group. And if you don't tell them anything new, then they don't want to see it. And I think those hour-long documentaries, the Johnny Manziel one, the one about the Urban Meyer Gators, the Connor Stallions one, they don't have enough time there's not enough runtime to go deep. So the people who know, like, if you follow the Connor Stallion stuff even casually as a college football fan, they didn't tell you anything interesting. Now, his NCAA interview video was interesting, but that was about it. But and the Johnny Manziel stuff, like if you were watching all those games and watching as that went, is like you didn't learn anything. So I loved the fact that go deeper. You get entire episodes that are devoted to one or two teams that kind of show exactly what's going on. And like you guys are a very South Carolina centric audience. South Carolina gave them a ton of access, and South Carolina gets a lot of screen time. A lot. You learn on a whole lot about Shane Beamer, about Lenora Sellers. And I think you kind of follow. They're the one team I think I feel like over the course of the show, you follow through the whole season. Them and LSU, which obviously it starts with that LSU game, which the South Carolina folks don't really want to remember.
Yeah, yeah. And we've got a lot of SEC fans that tune in. I know they did a really good job with, like you said, LSU and Florida and other teams too. So
yeah, and if you're mad your team wasn't in it,
that's
call your AD, your coach.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones at fault. So Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, like your people said no. That's why you're not in it.
You notice the common trend in most of those have ties to Saban one way or another. Either through coach or the current coach at Alabama have ties. And you know Nick Saban would never have agreed to sign off on this.
In at least one case, there was supposed to be a show that the school was producing and it never got off the ground. But that wasn't the case at all of them. Some of them were just like, we don't want the distraction.
Yeah, they don't want it. I mean, I understand that. Coaches are paranoid and they're always somewhat myopic in their viewpoint during the year. In an era where this time of year hot takes are floating all around, you're not a hot take artist, and I give you credit for that. But give me your hottest take of the upcoming season, something that you receive the most flack or criticism over thus far.
I mean, I get criticism every time I say if DJ Lagway is healthy, Florida can be a playoff team. They don't, people who watched them last year just don't want to accept that if they're the team they were at the end of the season, that they can play with anybody in their schedule. But obviously the DJ Lagway being healthy part of it's a big deal. And I had Florida fans pushing back because I said that on Feinbaum yesterday that, hey, if he's healthy, they're a playoff team. If he's not healthy, they get everybody fired. And they're like, I had one guy say, well, when you have a top 5 O-line, top 5 D-line, and you're going to have a top 3 running game, how does it matter what your quarterback? I'm like, okay, did you see Aiden Warner start the Texas game last year? This is the same people on the offensive and defensive lines. Like, that's the difference. So,
it's his most talented team, right? It's Billy's most talented team.
It is Billy's most talented team, but it's interesting that they've made some of the people have made some serious cognitive leaps that don't need to be made. Like, we don't know they're going to be a top 3 run. Like, they're not going to suddenly turn into 2000 Wisconsin. Like, they should be able to run the ball fairly well. I don't think they're going to run through Georgia and Texas A&M. Those are not teams typically that you can just hand the ball off and you're good to go. And so that's the thing. If they had a normal, like an average power conference schedule, I wouldn't say all this stuff about the DJ Lagway injury history. I'd be like, yeah, they're going to win 8 or 9 games at least. But they don't have an average power conference schedule. They have a very difficult one.
They're loaded with young talent, too. I mean, this is not going to be a one-time thing for them. Florida.
I don't think so. But the thing is, if they go 6-6, there's going to be a new coach, and those players are going to leave. So
that's a good point, man. That's they're very intriguing though, because Billy likes to run the ball, and like so you're playing Miami. They're playing Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Miami isn't exactly the most physical bunch up front. I could see
Miami's extremely physical up front. I don't know if you've ever watched them play. Their offensive line is excellent. They destroyed Florida up front last year. So.
Last year. I'm just saying sometimes Miami will get. I could see.
No, Miami's offensive line's awesome. Like they have 5 NFL players in their offensive line.
Defensive line. Miami's defense.
Ruben Bain, Keem Messidor, they're really good.
I just, I think a physical team like Florida could go in there and run.
Well, again, that's a hard one because Miami physically dominated them up front last year. Mm-hmm. So that's one of those they've got to prove that they are different. And they were different, like as the season went on, because What they look like against Miami and A&M is nothing. It looked nothing like what they look like against Ole Miss and LSU. And like Ole Miss had probably the best D-line in the country last year. And it's not like Florida was running rampant over Ole Miss, but it's funny because if you look at the per carry average, it looks bad in the Florida Ole Miss game, but then you realize that's the best anybody did against Ole Miss all season. So that's saying something.
Yeah, same thing with Miami. You know, Miami went to Georgia Tech and Haynes King couldn't even throw the ball, and they just got gashed. It was the teams changed. So that's I just Jaden Ball and that offensive line going down there in a revenge game.
Jaden Ball is going to be fun.
Jaden
Ball is going to be fun.
Yeah, I like that guy a lot.
He is enormous, and that's one of those things that like when you have Jaden Ball and again a healthy DJ Lagway who's also a threat to run the ball. You feel really good on the goal line, which I think Florida just has not had that element in a while where you felt like if they're in the red zone, they're going to be able to punch this in. And I think that's a pretty comforting thing for them. This is the most optimism I remember for a Florida season because the 2020 season, I think everybody thought they were going to be pretty good, but that was such a weird deal because of the pandemic and are they even going to play football? So non-pandemic years, I think this is as excited as anybody's been in Gainesville since like 2009.
They're pretty excited in Austin too. The focal point from the national media is going to be on Arch Manning, but I don't even know if he has to be that good for them to have another really good year because they're loaded everywhere. So what is your expectation there?
I mean, I have them number one in the country. I think they can win the national title. I just they do bring back so much. The offensive line's the question because they obviously lost some very good offensive linemen. Kelvin Banks was a first-round draft pick, but you look at Trevor Gooseby, who had to come in when Kelvin Banks was hurt last year. He wasn't officially a starter, but we've seen him start in enough relevant games that we know he's going to be pretty good. And he's already getting buzz as a potential high draft pick for next year. So the fact that they didn't jump in the portal to replenish the offensive line should tell you how confident they are in the guys they recruited and developed. And I think that's the biggest difference under Sark versus the Tom Herman era and the Charlie Strong era is Texas always got these very high profile recruits, but for whatever reason, they were not turning them into NFL players during their time in Austin. That has changed completely under Sark. Now the factory's open again, and they just, like you said, they're loaded. I mean, Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, Michael Taff. That's three levels of that defense where those are players that you feel great about. And like I don't know that we saw anywhere near what Ryan Wingo can be, the receiver who was a freshman last year. I think he's going to be a lot of fun. And Arch is an interesting one because I think the casual fan sees the name Manning and assumes he's going to play like Peyton or Eli. This Arch is more of a dual threat guy. Like there's a reason Arch was brought in to be the running QB when Quinn Ewers' ankle was messed up last year. So I think the athleticism of Arch changes the math on how you have to defend that offense because with Quinn, you weren't that worried about that.
Without knowing your poll or the ballot that you filled out, I don't know the answer to this, which is good. So I'm going to ask the question.
I can tell you.
Well, you'll tip your hand when I ask this question about Penn State. Is this the year they finally get over the top? Franklin wins enough big games. It's not as if they were terrible last year. Nobody's hating on James Franklin. He's won a lot of games. You can't argue with the winning percentage. But the Happy Valley Nation expects a little bit more. Is this the team to do it?
I think so. And we were talking about this on my show yesterday. And, Ari Wasserman made a really good point, my co-host. No, they don't historically win those games against the superpower teams. And this year they play Oregon and Ohio State. Those are the two that we would consider of that ilk. It used to be they would have to play Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten East. Now it's whatever the Big Ten throws at them. This one is Oregon coming to them going to Ohio State. Most of those times, Penn State has been the less talented team in those games. This time, they're probably going to be the more talented team. Maybe not against Ohio State, but probably against Oregon right now. Oregon's going to continue to be one of the more talented teams in the country. But Penn State, I think if you go just down the roster, Penn State is a top 5 roster. So the talent is comparable now. There's not this giant gap between them and Ohio State in terms of talent. Like, now's when you say, okay, the talent's fairly equal. You need to win these games, James Franklin. And, theoretically, they could lose to Oregon and Ohio State, still make the playoff. But I actually think they probably need to beat one of those teams because they play at Iowa. They also play Indiana. Those are losable games. So I think you'd probably want to win one of Oregon or Ohio State. So you got that mulligan there, because I do think it's a little bit trickier than some of the Penn State schedules of old, where it was just, what did you do against Michigan and Ohio State?
Yeah, and they need Drew Allar to play like a first-round draft pick in those games. Last one for you before we let you hop on to another show. Sleeper teams, some teams under the radar that you like this year.
The guy, the one I love, and I think a lot of people are coming around on them as we get closer to the season, is Utah. I really am excited to see Devin Dampier in that offense. You have 2 NFL offensive tackles, and Spencer Fano, the right tackle, is probably the first tackle off the board in the draft if they had the draft tomorrow. And I think it's not going to change much during the season. Let's put it that way. He's pretty locked in as one of the top offensive tackles in the draft next year. And he's just an absolute mauler. But Caleb Loma on the left side is really good too. So this is an offensive line that we're not used to seeing this level of athlete on the offensive line in the Big 12. And I think a lot of it is Utah was made, when you recruit these guys, because these offensive linemen, you started recruiting 4 and 5 years ago. You were in the Pac-12. You had to win a Pac-12 that included Oregon and Washington and USC. And so you were recruiting that level of trench talent, which you can do in Utah because a lot of it lives nearby. And so Kyle Whittingham's done a really good job of just stocking the trenches. So I think Utah is going to be a dangerous team in the Big 12. Devin Dampier is the new quarterback. He comes from New Mexico, ran for 1,100 yards last year. He's not the greatest thrower in the world. I don't think anybody's pretending that he is, but I think SEC fans will remember Nick Marshall at Auburn, who played corner in the NFL, but took Auburn to the national title game as a quarterback because he was such a threat with his legs. When he threw to Sammy Coates or whoever it was, they were wide open. So that's, I think, what Utah is hoping to do this year.
Yeah, I would expect with Whittingham, it's such a consistently good coach. That's a one-off. There's no way he has back-to-back disaster.
Yeah, and it was all bad quarterback luck. It stemmed from the various Cam Rising injuries through the years. And when Cam Rising got hurt last year, that was just they just were not in a position at quarterback. And him stretching out his career had sort of changed the timing of the recruitment of quarterbacks. So that's where it was. This is more of a hard reset for them, and I think they're back to winning a lot.
Should be fun. We inch closer and closer. Are you going to be anywhere for like week 0, week 1? Are you?
We are currently discussing the week 1 plan. I think right now the plan is LSU Clemson, which nice. I'm very, very excited about.
Very cool. Very cool. Andy, always appreciate the time. Go crush it on DP, and we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Andy Staples joining us here on JC and Morgan. You guys can battle it. I'm with you. I don't think Miami's defense was very good at all last year. So
it just depends on when you watched them. And I think you thought I was talking about their offensive line.
I think you thought you were talking about their O-line.
They're excited about Tom Lugerbill mentioned that tackle that they have. They're excited about. That's a second-year guy. If you watch those teams in week 1, Miami did physically dominate them. But what was in my mind was Syracuse. And Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech. And all those ACC teams that ran through them. I think Florida, if you watch Louisiana Lafayette when Billy Napier was there, when you have Jaden Ball, when you have a veteran offensive line, when you have a passing threat in DJ Lagway and good receivers on the outside, Billy Napier is still running his offense. That's how Louisiana Lafayette would win. They would just pound teams on the ground with their quarterback, with their running back, and then throw explosive plays. I could see a world in week 3 or 4 when they go down there, if Miami's, trending like they normally do, where Florida just, it happens to a lot of teams in Florida sometimes. It happened to the Gators under Spurrier. You get a big physical team like that, and it's Katie bar the door. That's just how, in my mind, I can kind of see that game going. If Florida's pretty good, is it's a revenge game. They're going to go down there, line up, run it up their bahunkuses, and say, try to finesse us if you can.
I'm right there with you. I think it could
that's
be
just my take on it. But
well, no, I think that's the best DNA for, even if Lagway's healthy, it would be a steady dose of Jaden Ball, ground and pound. That's
what Napier likes to do. I mean, that's what he does.
This is not Dan Mullen, or this is certainly not Steve Spurrier. Like that's not. And keep in mind, Billy is still calling the plays, which I don't know how popular that's going to be if they lose a couple of those games in September. But we shall see. By the way, he mentioned, Andy did, he's got Texas 1. We know the coaches poll is Texas 1. McMurphy, I think, had Georgia 1.
That's interesting.
And Phil Steele, who was on our show, had Penn State 1, which is a very fashionable pick right now as well. So there's a little bit of diversity in preseason number 1.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to vote, I'm with Phil on Penn State. I said that in the spring, I thought.
Yeah.
And it's just because I think with Phil, what he does and kind of what I think is the best way to do it, because it's harder to do now than ever for everybody because of the portal and getting the beat on roster, is just rank the teams that have a lot of proven guys coming back higher. Mm-hmm. And you're probably going to be somewhat accurate as a starting point.
Yeah.
And then don't be afraid to make grand, because that's what got Florida State in trouble, that ranking in trouble last year. People just said, well, they got all these guys out with big reps from Georgia and Alabama out of the portal. They're going to be just as good. And they just weren't. Some guys weren't ready. Some guys were overrated. And then the culture fell apart quickly. Florida State probably shouldn't have been a preseason top 10 if you were doing it like Phil does it. But Penn State has a lot coming back. And whoever they replace Abdul Carter with, I believe, is going to. I think I forget his name. He's a stud.
They always have one of those, right?
And then the Jim Knowles factor. That guy, it's not what he did at Ohio State, because HR Puffin stuff could probably be a pretty good D coordinator at Ohio State with the players they have. It's what he did before that under Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. It's hard when you got an air raid pass happy guy like Gundy or any Leach, any of those guys. It is so hard to be a D coordinator. At Oklahoma State, when he was there, they were salty on defense. They would just shut teams down. And I always thought, the way he schemes it up and can kind of work around an offense that's maybe not defensive friendly, it was very smart. And James Franklin hired him away to replace Tom Allen. And so I think that's a factor. I think he can get that defense even better.
Yeah, which is scary to think, because they've been pretty salty on D. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that offense has not shown up in the biggest of games. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do a little mailbag, get to some of your messages on Chat Row, and take a look ahead to next week as well. It's JC and Morgan, powered by Advocare, advocare.com. More coming up in a sec.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks!
Hey folks, want to tell you about our friends at Titan Construction Group really quick. They're a Mid-Atlantic based general contractor, specializes in retail, restaurant, and office construction. TCG strives to separate itself from other general contractors by adding value every step of the process. From project budgeting to estimation, value engineering to construction, they focus on those relationships and not the transaction. Titan builds partnerships one project at a time. Among their clients are Starbucks, Crumble Cookie, Blake Pizza, Home Goods, 15 plus years experience, based in Midlothian, Virginia, and contracted in Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So get on their website, Titan TitansCGinc.com. That's TitansCGinc.com. Get in touch with Brad if you're in need of a general contractor that focuses on going above and beyond for their clients. That's Titan Construction Group, a proud sponsor of the JC and Morgan podcast.
We're passionate about making sure that the Nest and Wild mattress is the best it can be. Made well and made right. Right here in Tupelo, Mississippi. So how can we do all that? Work. Hard work. And that means something. The Nest and Wild mattress is a movement. It's a pride in where you come from and where you're going. So get comfortable, because this movement is just beginning.
This is JC Morgan on the Chief Sports Network.
College football forever.
And we're back.
And we're back.
The dramatic guitar riff. Was that Stevie Ray Vaughan? Is that Tom Petty? Who's playing guitar on that intro?
I can pick it.
He can. And he likes a little dramatic layout just to make sure you know you're engaged with his performance. Hopefully you are engaged and immersed in JC and Morgan, presented by Advocare, advocare.com. Save yourself 20% on all the products there. Promo code Mike Morgan. And you will be healthier, livelier, and just naturally better than you probably were before. No need to go to a GNC and deal with Meathead Mickey or any of those other things. You don't have to be a meathead to enjoy the Advocare products. Just a quick bone to pick. You go to a gym, I don't care what it is, LA Fitness, Planet Fitness. For those of you in the swankier ones, like a Lifetime.
I joined Lifetime the other day.
Did you really? No, you're living in high cotton now. That's
well,
like,
my bougie stepson, we call him Princess Moose. He was like all about it.
Oh,
wife
real
got a
bougie
discount, and dude, it's like a country club.
It's
anyway,
like a country club.
They
Yeah,
can pay us for advertising.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, how about a throw us a bone here, Lifetime. Since they're not a sponsor, I'll tell you, for my money, they're overpriced. I have been a member before, but nonetheless, there goes that sponsorship. You go in there and everything is haughty toddy, but even in a Lifetime, it doesn't matter, because meatheads are meatheads. And the I could do a whole segment on meatheads at the gym. They don't rack their weights. They're sitting there. I waited once on a bench press, and I don't do a lot of bench, so I'm sounding myself like a little meathead, but I'm waiting there. And this guy, meathead, he's sweating all over the place like a damn camel in the Sahara Desert in mid-July. And he's got his Bluetooth in, and he's literally on a call talking in between sets like he owns the damn gym and nobody else is waiting to use the equipment. Then he finally gets done, doesn't wipe the bench, leaves the weights on the floor and on the bar, and it's like, good Lord, that should be, you hit a button like you do at Planet Fitness, and the lunkhead light goes on, and they pick them up and they throw them out head first, casino style. And that's it. His membership is revoked.
Use this guy's head as the exit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to hit you so hard you won't be able to fit in that cowboy hat. Pesci and casino.
I'm not my trainer. My old trainer, obviously.
Trainer? Well, look at you.
Old trainer from back in the day. You remember those days, Mike?
Yeah, you were shredded. You were drinking 80
yeah.
gallons of water in a 3-hour span.
I still go through a lot of water, but he hated Planet Fitness because they served pizza, and he's like, why?
Planet
But
Fitness is just like you don't know what you're going to get in there.
it was a pizza and
It's-
cookies. He's like, why would you do that? Because I mean,
Yeah.
you sit there training people, and the hardest part's the diet. I mean, the diet's what derails most
You get
people,
older, especially.
including myself. But they did have the best commercial ever because the lug head or whatever was like, they said, oh, over here's our bench. He's like, I pick things up and put things down. And he had this jug in his hand, and he's like, I pick things up and put things down. And he finally just ushered him out the door. It's like, I pick things up and put things
And
down.
I put things down.
Oh, that was
I
funny.
remember the one where it was a woman leading a spin class, which they do not have at Planet Fitness. And she's like, spin, spin, spin till you bleed. And I was just like, if you're tired of the same old gym rhetoric, come join Planet Fitness where there's no pressure. You can be a complete slob, and we'll take your $19.95 a month.
So you don't have to go for the B team either, because the A team's working at the gyms. The B teams are at GNC. So
Right.
if you got Advocare, just to circle back here.
Yes.
I actually wrote down the Spark because that's I need to kind of cut my caffeine take in the
Oh,
morning.
dude.
So.
Well, now Spark, so the Rehydrate has no caffeine. Spark does have caffeine, but no sugar.
No sugar. Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I just need to cut the.
You will feel better. That's all I'm going to say.
I bought a bad thing of coffee from Costco, right? Because I'll drink
You're
coffee.
a coffee guy.
And it's the Starbucks. I don't like it. Period. There's another advertiser out the door.
Yeah.
I like the generic Colombian coffee, and this is just kind of like Italian. It's almost done. So I've been doing like Coke Zero, which is probably horrible for you.
Yeah.
Caffeine. So I may check out the Spark, and of course use code Mike Morgan for my discount.
And get your 20% off, and you're made in the shade. You'll feel better. You'll look like 10-year ago JC, which was, to quote Mickey from Rocky, a wrecking machine. That's what you were back in the day, and you can get back there with the help of Advocare. All right, real quick, this is from, and hopefully old Big Ten Jay will be chiming in quite a bit. Always like his takes. We've got the mailbag back up. Tell people the website, JC.
collegefootballforever.com.
Okay, so it's no longer jcandmorgan.com. Make a note of that, folks. collegefootballforever.com.
Yes.
We'll start to add more and more stuff to that. We will have the mail back up and running. We get a lot of junk mail, so sometimes we have to sort through that.
Yeah, somebody wants to sell us something.
Yeah, somebody's always selling us something. At least it could be like nude photos or something, but it's not. It's always like crap that you would never think of being interested in looking at or buying. Anyway, Jay says Jay's a big Michigan fan. He says Big Ten Media Days made it clear that although Petiti lacks the gravitas and influence with fans and media in general, he certainly seems to be effective in getting the coaches to toe the party line in regards to playoff expansion's 4-4-2-2-1 model and 9-game schedules. While I'm against the 4-4-2-2-1 model, a part of it really intrigues me as a possible solution to the Big Two over expansion. The concept of play-in games on championship weekend as a way to address the scheduling imbalances. Do you think the play-in games have the potential to solve the imbalances? If not, what else can be done? I think first off, the SEC needs to get the 9 conference games. And I've been adamant about that for a while. I know for the longest time it was a financial negotiation with their parent company that I know a thing or two about. I think also recently there's been a little concern after what happened last year, where the committee clearly just went on a who has more losses. You're going to be trumped by the team that has fewer losses. If that's the case, you've got a lot of coaches, SEC coaches, that are yelling, and if the coaches are yelling, that means the ADs are yelling, "Hey, wait a minute, we can't do this." So if we don't get to 9 anytime soon, I'm not sure how this works out, because Sankey I don't believe is going to give on the 4-4-2-2-1. So we have an impasse. And it's kind of like Congress, JC. If you can't get everybody in the House and the Senate to agree, the bill doesn't get passed. So, I mean, there is an actual possibility we don't expand right away if we can't get people to agree on the terms. I hope that's not the case. I think the fan misses out if that is the case. But in terms of the playoff games on conference weekends, look, I'm not against it per se. I wonder if what the appetite is from a Greg Sankey and a Tony Petitti for it. I don't know.
Well, Petitti's all for it.
Yeah.
The Big Ten,
because he wants the 4-4-2-2-1
I'm
model.
agnostic about it. I could take the 4-4-2, whatever. I could take the 5-11. I see benefits in both. Where Big Ten J is correct is that is a solution for schedule imbalance, which we saw last year. Indiana, Penn State, Tennessee, Texas. None of them played what I would call a murderer's row within the conference. And they all made the playoff because of the method that's doing. Now we can all say, well, strength of schedule is going to start playing a factor because they're going to use computers or whatever in the committee, blah, blah, blah. Still, though, with the transfer portal, like I mentioned, and rosters currently in flux, you're not talking about 20 new players or a normal freshman class coming in and attrition and all that. And you're talking about 30, 40 new players in most Power 5 situations, including the Blue Bloods, and coming and going. So how do you set a conference schedule, which is not set ridiculously in advance like non-conference games, but a couple of years in advance, and come up with a formula to where it's fair? The answer is you probably can't. But what you can do with play-in games is say, all right, well, if you're really that good, regardless if you have 3 losses, or you can finish amongst the top 6 in an 18-team league, or we're going to go and we'll have tiebreakers and stuff. It's not ideal, but then you just settle it on the field. Like last year, had we done this in the SEC, I guess the format was, and Sankey actually has. It's the coaches that don't want this, and the ADs that don't want this, which means the school presidents probably are like, I don't know that we should do this. Ole Miss would have played Bama to get in the playoff, and South Carolina would have played Tennessee to get in the playoff, and then we'd had Georgia and Texas in the top game. That was shoot, Alabama and Ole Miss with a playoff berth on the line. As much as Ole Miss people live in spite of the Crimson Tide, and they'd have probably won the game. I would have taken Ole Miss because it would have depended on what Bama team we got. Ole Miss wasn't playing that well at the end, but they'd probably gotten back up for that, seeing as how they played well against Georgia. South Carolina, Tennessee, same way. So I'm intrigued by it, but if you got 3 of the 4 leagues don't want it, then it's probably not going to happen. I think what they could do, Mike, is, and this sounds crazy, but there's precedent for it because the Big Ten has done during COVID, did something different than everybody else with games that weren't originally on the schedule being scheduled. You could say, okay, you can have at it, and we're going to give you, we're going to give you your 4. Give them their 4. Give them their 4 auto bids, because the SEC is not going to. That's not going to bother the SEC, when you're comparing SEC, ACC, Big Ten. You can go do your thing, and we'll go do ours, and we'll meet together for the playoff. I mean, they're always welcome to do that. Do I think it's fair to have one conference with auto bids and the others are just at the whims of a committee? No. But if you're going to, saying you want to go to 5-11 at the SEC means to me, you're betting on yourself anyway.
That's the phrase. That's the phrase I use, JC.
You're betting on yourself.
You're betting on yourself. The Big Ten, don't take this as a slight, Jay. I'm not anti-Big Ten. The Big Ten, they've got all the bragging rights right now. They've won the last 2 national titles. The SEC hasn't been in the game. But the Big Ten is not willing to bet on itself. The 4-4-2-2-1 model is a safety net for conferences like the Big Ten, who on many given years might not have as many as 4 teams that are truly qualified to be in a playoff, right? So, I mean, Sankey basically looked at it. He's like, I'll do either one. I don't care. We're going to get the most amount of teams no matter what. But then like the math started sinking in from a number of people around the SEC. They're like, wait a minute, if we do the 4-4-2-2-1, that caps us at how many at-large teams we can get. And so now the SEC is like, the hell with the 4-4-2-2-1. Let's go to the five. We're all 5'11". I mean, they're wearing 5'11" T-shirts. They got 5'11" swag outside of the conference office in Birmingham. So that kind of changed on a dime. The only other thing I'll say about the play-in games, this is the one that no one wants to talk about, and especially either non-SEC fans or SEC fans that are never in the championship game. They don't want to hear this, but it is a factor. The 1 versus 2 game is never going away in the SEC. Never, ever, never, ever, ever. I don't care who you've heard it from. I've seen a lot of hot takes out there from people that I actually know and respect that cover the sport. And they've kind of hinted, well, what's the point? It's a meaningless game anyway. They should get rid of it. They're going to get rid of it. They're not getting rid of it. Just get that out of your head. The other thing is, if you do have two play, I mean, you mentioned how juicy those games would be, JC. What? Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss. With the playoff on the line, who's not going to watch that?
Yeah.
But you've basically you've now turned the 1 versus 2 into the consolation prize in terms of the eyeballs. I don't know if that game gets the same amount of hype, perhaps, depending on who's playing in it, than the 2 semi games that have something more on the line. Right?
Yeah, it's like basketball conference championship. You know, those tournament championship games in the mid majors are a lot more exciting than the Big Ten or SEC, because those 2 teams normally are in already. It's just seeding. But man, the mid majors, it's do or die. Any do or die game is pretty much more dramatic, especially.
Yes.
I mean, I'd love to see. I agree completely with the folks that say it's impossible to achieve schedule balance with the leagues being this big, and with all, and then on top you throw also all the changes. You know, I do think if the SEC went to 9, you could achieve it a little better, because you have everybody would have 3 permanent opponents,
no question,
and things like that. But
yeah,
I mean, you know, and then people will say, well, when they had division schedules weren't balanced, because you had a bunch of great West teams that, you know, when the East stunk,
right?
You know, but that said, you still have, you know, a conference title division winners, and that's just your division. So it's tough. You know, you're not. That's not. I mean, we didn't always get the 2 best teams in the league, mind you.
Right.
But you know, something will have to give at some point, I think. But we'll see what happens. I'm like I said, I'm agnostic. I'll continue to say I don't think that a conference that held the entire sport hostage till 1998 with their Rose Bowl automatic Rose Bowl bid really, you know, and it has done some other things, and I'm not going to get as fired up as I did a couple of weeks ago. I don't really think they should be dictating anything to anybody when it comes to the postseason in the sport, and that's just based on history, man.
Yep, we'll see how that turns out. Another one. This is from Andy. One of the best things about your podcast is that sportscasters, like a lot of newscasters, are very sheep-like. They follow each other's thoughts and observations, don't have any original thought. When I listen to you guys, not only do I agree 99.9% of the time, JC, send this guy some swag, will you? Yeah. Of the time, but also I don't get the same cookie-cutter takes as I do elsewhere. Appreciate the humor, too. Lamar's javelin throw was classic. Didn't know he was in Karate Kid. Now, there's a guy who can appreciate my random movie references. Yeah, we went. I don't even know how that came up. Nate chimed in too. I forgot I even said this. He's a regular listener to JC and Morgan. He said, "I love the analogy you made of." I said something like Ed Orgeron at a kegger, after a kegger. I can't remember in what context, but I do know I said that somewhere. We love Ed.
That was great. Yeah.
Ed.
Coach O.
Yes. And JC has done many long form impressions of one Ed Orgeron. So he is beloved on the show. Okay. To wrap things up, just some stuff from chat row. I'm going to try to, gosh.
There's a $5 or a dimer in here that's pretty
I
sweet.
saw that at the end. Yeah.
There's a lot of debate between Micah and Everett.
We got a couple. Micah's got his manifesto going.
He's got the beat on the future of college football.
Yes, he does. Micah's book will be at Barnes and Nobles beginning in September. Wow. Okay, that's a long. This all went on during the show.
Yeah, everybody had the chat row was on fire.
Well, there you go. Micah does actually ask a question. Do you all think teams like Wake Forest or Purdue could just pay bigger money for like a top 15 to 20 players to try and compete? JC, what do you think?
In theory, but they're not. I mean, like Purdue's different than Wake Forest. Purdue is a big state. I mean, it's like Auburn or Clemson or someplace like that. I mean, they've got 60,000 students and can pack out Rose Odd Stadium. And the most terrifying mascot in all of college sports, Purdue Pete. Although the St. Francis Friar was a little less terrifying, but terrifying nonetheless. But no, so Purdue's wealthy. I mean, they're any big state-supported school with a bunch of alums and fans is going to be able to generate revenue. Wake Forest is a small private school with not a lot of alums and not a lot of fans. And, private schools do have deep pockets. But what I've found in this era, Mike, is that the Stanfords and Vanderbilts and Northwesterns and Dukes, Duke may be an exception, but those other schools that they haven't exactly said, oh, why don't we take our hundreds of super wealthy alums and tap them? I mean, everybody else may have thousands, but we've got, billionaires. So I haven't seen that happen yet, but in theory, Micah, you could, but I do think Purdue and Wake Forest are two different animals.
I think they're going to be at the bottom of their respective leagues from now until the end of time. I just don't think that. I hope I'm wrong. I've never been to West Lafayette. I've been to Winston-Salem a number of times. Good fans, good people, fine program. I just think today's climate, those programs are getting pushed aside. They're getting marginalized.
The worst thing that ever happened to Purdue is the divisions going away, because they were the Big Ten West was just not a murderer's row. I mean, they won it under Braun. They wouldn't play at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Now schools like programs are, because you finished 15th in the league. I don't care. Maybe you've had a good year and you go to a bowl, but you're 15th in a league. I mean, that's basketball coaches complain about it all the time. The giant leagues. So
it's that genie's out of the bottle. We're not going to divisions and we're not shrinking conferences. Bobby, Indiana will not even get 10 wins this year. He says, Morgan, they have a little harder schedule, even with 3 FCS games, I believe. 1 G5, not positive on that. Well, I agree with you, Bobby. I think it's a downward year for Indiana. I think it's one of those years where they struck gold. They had the right transfer quarterback that very few people knew about, a guy with ties to Canada, of all things. The schedule worked out well. And look, they did a hell of a job. I'm not taking anything away from IU, but I don't think there's going to be an encore performance.
Bro, this starting 3 games for them, all at home. They don't play a road game till the 27th, but they didn't have to go to Iowa or Wisconsin or anywhere tough last year. I mean, Michigan State was probably one of their toughest road games that they won. Old Dominion comes to town. They're a little tricky sometimes. Kennesaw State, I have no idea what to think. Then they have Indiana State, that bitter in-state rivalry with the Sycamores.
Go Sycamores.
On a Friday night. And then BD Belima in Illinois comes to town, and then they go to Iowa. And then they go to Oregon after an open date. So they could actually, in theory, start 0-3 in the Big Ten. And, great story last year, but it wouldn't make me sad to see it happen. I'm a Purdue fan.
Okay. Look, I'd love to see Purdue have a good year.
I'd
love to see Purdue have a good year.
But I mean, doesn't it stink, though, if you're Purdue, you have Jeff Brom, you go to the Indiana RCA Dome or whatever it's called. Well, it's not the RCA Dome. What's it? Lucas Oil Field in Indianapolis for the Big Ten title game. And you got this good coach, you're a great story, all that. Purdue football's rolling, baby. And then all of a sudden, your coach leaves, goes back to his alma mater. You hire a disaster. And Purdue's had some disasters before. This is a huge 2-year disaster. And all of a sudden, Indiana who in football has been your little brother. I mean, Purdue's not that great, but they've always historically been better than Indiana, which is a basketball school. They're both basketball schools. It's more of a basketball school. And then you watch Indiana go to the first ever college football playoff. That's 12 teams.
Yeah.
And you don't win a game at all. I mean, in the Big Ten.
Kenny, that segment was for you. That's the most amount of time we are ever going to spend on Purdue.
Tons of Purdue
JC Morgan.
I am here for Purdue, baby.
Yes. Boilermaker love here on the show. Sam, 2 more random movies on the Five or Dimer. There's Something About Mary and Red Dawn. There's Something About Mary for me is an absolute dime piece classic comedy, the type that we see very little of nowadays, although I do want to see the Naked Gun sequel. Give that a shot. But that's a dimer. Red Dawn, Fiverr, great cast.
That surprises me, Mike.
I know you love this movie, don't you? Yeah, it wasn't my favorite. This is a dime piece for you. Hell, this might be a Ben Franklin for you. You've mentioned this movie randomly
Wolverines.
10 times.
I have a sweatshirt that says Wolverines.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do, dude.
Who bought that? And how much did that store clerk laugh at you?
I know. I bought it
framed
online.
an Asia poster?
Hey, don't knock Asia.
That's a line from
I know.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But no. Red Dawn would be a Ben Franklin for me. I watch it every time it's on.
That's got Swayze, Sheen, Leah Thompson, who back in the day was getting it done. Oh, C. Thomas Howell, Soul Man ruined his career, but a good actor.
Gray.
That's right, Jennifer job. Jennifer Grey
is in it.
Not hating.
There's
just
some
saying.
other well-known other actors from the 80s that are in it. But I mean, it's the deal is this. The Russians invade, and they're in Wyoming, and I guess the opening scene is paratroopers coming in, and they take over this town, and so the kids run up into the mountains and start a guerrilla war. I mean, it's really good, dude. I mean, now they made
it's probably on Tubi.
They did a remake, and it was absolutely atrocious. It was about the Chinese invading Seattle. I'm like, well, if you spend too much time in Seattle, you're going to probably want to invade.
I don't know if China wants to mess with Antifa headquarters.
I don't know, man. Yeah,
that's
crazy.
That's a bloodbath right there. Yeah. Bobby says SEC has it right. Play 8 and 1 team from Big 10, Big 12, ACC, and 1 cupcake. Now, see, I wouldn't mind that at all because now you're giving me 11 competitive games. It's the 2 cupcake model that a number of teams throughout the land participate in. That I think we have graduated from that. We need to move on from that. You get 1 cupcake. That's it. I'm putting my foot down on this. 1 cupcake. And JC, I have done my fair share of nationally televised games featuring a major school beating up on a cupcake. I know what it's all about. The fans don't have an appetite for it like they used to. And now with an expanded playoff, you don't have to go down that road.
Man, when you said 1 cupcake, I thought about the movie Office Space. When Milton didn't get a cupcake, and that lady was like, Milton, don't be greedy. And you get 1 cupcake.
1 cupcake and one red stapler.
And then Milton was like, I didn't receive my cupcake or stapler.
All right, 2 more quick ones before we get out of here and go completely ADD. Tyler says, guys, I need a sleeper running back for my fantasy football league. Oh, NCAA fantasy football league. I don't know many people that play a college football fantasy league, but let me tell you, as a commissioner of an NFL one, I'm all for it. It's just hard because, again, there's so many mismatches in college football. That's a great question. I was not prepared for that mentally, psychologically. You got one, JC?
I'll give you one. It's probably of maybe a value depending on hype. Plays for Gideon Davidson, the freshman running back at Clemson.
Ooh, okay.
Clemson does not have a replacement for Phil Maffa unless it's on their. I mean, Jay Haynes is good. Adam Randall. They moved from wide receiver. That's the one position that you look at Clemson and there's some question marks, but The freshman Davidson is a stud recruit from the state of Virginia, really good football player. And I think he's going to carry the load. So what you could end up getting is a dude that's really, really productive, particularly, against some of the teams on their schedule, not all of them, and get you some points, man. Sleeper running back.
I just drew a blank. Oh, SEC. Jade Knott. I'm very high on Jade Knott.
Yeah. I'll throw Logan Diggs at Ole Miss in there too. He was hurt last year. Notre Dame transfer from last year. Really good season, first year, or a couple of years at Notre Dame. But Jade Knott from Cal, that was a sneaky great pickup by Oklahoma.
No one's, I won't say no one. I mean, obviously, the Phil Steeles of the world, they've got him in the magazine. But, everybody's talking about the quarterback and Mateer as a possible Heisman Trophy candidate. They're talking about the receivers being healthy. They're talking about the defense. They're talking about you don't hear a whole lot of Jade Knott. Remember, Jade Knott will be one of the top rushers in the SEC this year. There, I said it. Put him on your fantasy team, Tyler. Blake, thoughts on the 29-year-old former MLB player coming into play in the NCAA? Good for college ball or not? You know anything about him?
Is that the guy at Arkansas?
I don't know. Blake, help us out. I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah, I know Arkansas has a wide receiver that's
is that like
Monty Harrison. So but he played for them last year.
Okay.
And I believe is he playing for him this year too? I think he's still playing. He's pretty good.
Bobby says didn't think that was possible if he played professional baseball. Well, Chris Winkie did, didn't he?
Chris Winkie, Corey Jenkins at South Carolina did it. There's been a lot that if you go pro in another sport, you can come back and play in college. I was talking to my stepson about that the other day. We had a crazy conversation. I think it was him about if Michael Jordan, instead of playing for the Birmingham Barons when he went to debate, what if he'd just gone back to North Carolina and played baseball?
Well, he'd already played in the NBA.
Yeah, but this guy played in the MLB. Do you have to make?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the question would be, if you never make it to the majors,
okay,
can you come back? Is that the rule? I don't know what the rule is.
I don't know.
I know a lot of guys in the minor leagues.
A lot of guys in the minors. And Winkie won a Heisman Trophy, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but I guess the majors would be different.
That might be different if you make it to the pros. I'm not 100%, but no, it's an interesting story. Yeah. He's 29. He's the Thornton Mellon of college football. He's back to school.
Pretty good player too. I mean, pretty good player. So
he's working on the triple Lindy when he's not playing ball. All right, JC, as we wrap things up, thanks again to Andy Staples. Some final reminders of everybody that want to tune in to this fine pod over the course of the season.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I was corrected. Here's why Michael Jordan couldn't do that, because he'd already played college basketball for North Carolina. So you
can't go back and forth.
Yeah, these guys have never played any college sports at all.
So that's right. Winkie had never played.
Yes. So if you're listening to this podcast on Apple or Spotify or iHeart or wherever you can get it, you can please go rate us 5 stars, write a sweet review. We like sweet reviews.
We love sweet reviews.
We don't like 1-star reviews. There's very few of those. Also, you can download the Chief Sports app. It's free on Apple. You can get that, listen live on your iPhone, and all the archive shows as well as our other shows and things of that nature. Follow us on Twitter at 4ever CFB, or on Instagram at forever spelled out CFB. I know it's different. Should be uniform, but that's the world of social media. Mike Morgan on air on X. I'm JC Sherbert on X as well. Also at Chief Sports Net for all our Chief Sports updates.
The question comes up every year: when are you guys going to do this during the season? I'm down for Sundays, JC. I don't know about everybody's schedule.
Well, there's a group-wide email where I
saw that
yesterday, yes. And so I don't know. I mean, we have some challenges
we have some challenges no matter what day. We will pick a day.
It's not the normal challenges though. It's like my schedule is to where I could do it. I mean, last year it's not going to happen on Sundays. But this year I'm down. But we got to figure that out. It'll be Sundays, either Sundays or Wednesdays. But we'll try to come up with something that would make everyone happy. I agree. Sunday would be a terrific day because our sister show or our cousin show, SEC Sunday night, is Sunday nights. So you just have a college football celebration on Sundays and
back to
all
back.
that good stuff. Yeah, so that'll be good. But
we'll see if we can figure all that out.
Yeah.
You and I both have challenges. That's why we kind of float a bit, but we appreciate your patience on all of that and finding us one way or another, whether it's live or eventually on our multiple platforms. Again, our thanks to Mad Dog, our thanks to Andy Staples. For JC, it's Mike. We are powered by Advocare, advocare.com, and we are saying so long until next week. Take care, everybody.